So today my talk is about functional programming. Just quick recent, have you heard about functional programming? If you heard that, have you used it in your production code? Yeah, okay, cool. So why I pick this topic is because the Angular RxJS is that when you do more RxJS programming, you always run into functional programming. So today we're gonna talk about why should you care about functional reactive programming. Okay, so here's some production code I saw this year when I do some code review in some team product. So here's the code. I only see it's just stupid long code. Component is then another base component and has 1,000 lines of code. And inside the component class, there's a lot of method. They use the method from the base component. So then you cannot, when we do the code review, usually we run into problems we cannot trace the code. Okay, it takes a long time to understand this code. And how about this one? This is two variable, then it came from nowhere. Can you guess what's the value here? Let's see. The first square, let's say list dot data equal null. Let's say, but the list data variable is not appear in this function, right? So where is this data? No, right? So when we debug this function, we need to run it and do console log and see what this data is. So it's a side effect. Yeah, familiar? So what's side effect nightmare, right? So the side effect is the situation we want to avoid. So how many people is beaten by side effect? So the code, the value is changed somewhere else that you cannot really know. Somebody write a function that change your variable, right? So side effect. So how about this? State management. Pain, eh? How about some so complex business logic and this dependency, right? So it's about me. I'm the Angular Taiwan organizer, and I run also all co-organizer in GDG Taichung, and this is another small community group that I'm running. So how do we improve the code the code before we saw before? So a lot extend side effect. So that's why the functional programming is coming. So what is the functional programming? So according to the definition on Wikipedia, they say functional programming is the process of building software by composing pure function. Okay, so what is a pure function? Okay, this is 4 characters for the functional programming. So what is a pure function? Pure function is you give the input and you come out the same output every time. It's no so there's no side effect in it. You cannot access or change any data outside the function. So it's a pure function, right? And composing function. And why use functional programming? Well, the first one is readability. Maybe. Maintainability. Same. If you don't know anything about functional programming, readability and maintainability is really hard. But how about testability? Because it's the pure function, it's easy to test. You give the value and you always can assume the result output result is always the same. That's why the pure function is so easy to test. Okay, and they go back to the first 2 blocks, the readability and the maintainability. If the function is only one line of code. Okay. It's really easy to understand. But if the function is composing a lot of functions, no, it's not. It's not really easy to understand. So the reliability depends on how well the people, like the coder, understand functional programming. But can we do the functional programming like itself? No, it's not. It's not easy to do it. You need the language to help. But in JavaScript, we have a lot library can help us to do functional programming. So like Ramda, Lodash, and Clock. These three main, not three main, it's like three top public library like we use in the JavaScript. So here's some code that demonstrate the functional programming. The first block of code is usually first beginner, they write the code like this one. You loop the array and find the result meet the condition. How about the second block? Which one, which block of code is easier to understand? The second one, right? So it's so easy to understand that you just read and see, okay, that's a detail, that's the result we want to find. The scope is larger than 7, right? So we want the second one. But the functional programming has another issue. When we develop in web, that's the async event, like click event, call API, that's all those async events. Luckily, we have RxJS in Angular. The RxJS help us to manage all async event. So like HTTP code, we have HTTP client. Then we have forms module. There's all kind of value changes all in the observer. So React programming is another way to manage how we handle the event, the async event. So what is the React programming? So by definition, React programming is the programming paradigm oriented around the data flows. Okay, data flows and the progression of change means if something changes, you always just watch the data flow. Okay? So data flow include what? Event mouse, anything the mouse event click, and API call is something returned. So data flow. So see. So why React programming? Well, before React programming, we have to use promise to handle all the async event. But when we use promise, there's another problem with callback. So if we have to call 3 API, the callback will look will go all the way to the right. Yeah, go to the right, because of the callback. Well, if we don't want a callback, we can use await async. But there's a little problem with await async. If you don't use it right, it will cause another problem. So before that, so RSS, we can use RSS to handle all kind of event. Then you can see the flow. It's like flow. Okay, here's a demo code we used to see on the RSS event. So we have the input, and you type something, you search from the wiki. Okay, here's the RSS code. How many can read this one? Understand it? Okay, so when we type something from the search input, like debounce and distinct until change. And these two operators, the purpose of these two operators is to prevent high frequency change to high frequency change. And then the third line, merge map, they will pass the result from the input to call the Wikipedia API, and the fourth is mapping the result. Well, this one is a simple one, but when we do RxJS, we also run into like the operator is like you use at least like 30 operator, right? So it's really hard to maintain after some like business complex, really like complex business logic. So how can we prevent that? We use the use answers. We have 4, right? But if you only use like NGRX, when it reduces the action, maybe it has like 100 lines of code. Because everything in NGRX, they use the observable to train up, right? Okay, so how do we approve that? So we combine reactive programming and functional programming, make another term is functional reactive programming. Means we can compose, because the functional programming is a composing function. So means we can compose like part of the operator into another function. And RxJS, the main pipeline, you can use loss function. Okay. So this the means. So in functional programming, like we do a little bit refactoring, means that you can pull out some operator into another function. Then the main function just call the function. So after this refactoring, we can see the main function, the reliability, the purpose of the function is more clear. We can give the meaning of the function. Okay, let's do some like live coding and see how we can get benefit from the functional programming. Is code big enough? Can you read behind, back? Okay, good. Is record like on the PowerPoint. So on the left side is like typical API call, like HTTP.get and API URL, and there's a value. So from the left, the console, we can see the result from the API call. So first, the result we get from the API, and this a lot of nonsense information. The information we want is inside the query and the search result, and we want to show the title. So if we want to do the little data formatting, we usually do this like this. We use map. Okay. I mean, import is first. Okay, here's the result. But when you do like this one, it's a lot coding. How about this operator in RxJS is called plug. Plug is you can pull some data from the object. So we can use this one. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So after a little bit refactoring, then these two line of code can make the code more meaningful. So like we plug like from the query and the search. Then let's search the array data. Then in this data of array, then we can map title only, right? So this one is easy to understand. How about like we use a little bit of Ramda from the PowerPoint. The Ramda is a library you can. It helps us to do the functional programming style. Like we can compose function, we can pipe function. So let's do a little bit more. So if I want like merge refactoring these two lines of code into like just single function, how can I do that? Well, in Ramda, there's another function. They do the same thing with plug. It's called path. So let's okay. So this one will do the same thing. But this path has that you need to like two parameters. This one from the path, and the second parameter is you pull the source like array into a second parameter. But in this one, we just don't use, just leave that. We just define the first one, and the second one will. Okay. So the line 22, we use like just pure function, pull data from the line 6. Okay. Then how about the 23? 23, we can do the similar thing. There's another method from Ramda also called map. And by the map, we want to map from the object title, like property title. So there's another prop called title. Okay, so this is how the Ramda works. Then here we just replace with the function we. Cool. Then just one more thing. We need to compose or pipe these two functions together. So how compose works is data will pass from the right-hand side to the left. And so we can think the data will go from the right to the left. So the first one is called format data, and the second one is pull data. After that, what's the benefit do that this refactoring? First, all like first 3 lines of code we can put to the just pure JavaScript function, and this function can move to another framework or any other JavaScript framework. They will do the same thing. It's not depend on the Angular itself, so it's easier to like use anywhere else. So if you have another application want to use the same function, just import this method, and we'll do the same thing. Okay, so then in the main Angular component class, the API code itself become more clear. It's just one line, and other than so here we can avoid the mega operator. And second, it's easier to test. Right? How can we say it's easier? Because we only need to test line 6 and line 7, these 2 lines of code. If these 2 lines of code they works what we expect, then final result will come out with we expect. That's the benefit of using the functional programming. And RxJS will handle the async input. So how can we type this one? So we just quick demo and use like another 5 minutes, maybe less. Okay. Let me show. And in next session, we'll okay. So let me see. So we have input, then we have like phone control. And search input. And we want to see the result. Right. And let's do another sync pipe. So HTML is done. And we do this one, search input equal new phone control. And the results equal this dot value change. Input phone control from Angular /phones. So we can pass this one and just me do a little bit refactoring. So this one. Oh. Oh. Oh my God. What? I remember I input it last night though. Let me just quick import from just there. Okay, just like this. So we don't avoid like subscribe. We don't need to worry about unsubscribe. They all can done by using a sync pipe. But more about that we will pass to Canberra. She will talk more about this style of programming. Okay, so that's all for my talk. Thank you for listening.